Welcome to part 4 in the 2018 non-traditional Christmas movie marathon. Each week from Thanksgiving up until Christmas, we have looked back at a non-traditional Christmas movie. This will be our final film for the 2018 Christmas season. Now, you know, the 1980s, they're famous for a lot of things. Music, the big hair, and the action film. The 1980s were the prime of the action movies, the macho, tough guys. There's no better decade for the action film than the 1980s. And there is perhaps no greater action film from the 1980s than Die Hard, directed by John McTiernan and starring Bruce Willis. And to quote an old buddy from high school, "Dude, I love Bruce Willis. Bruce Willis is awesome. I love Bruce Willis."
Who knew?
Now, there's two types of people in this world. Those that think Die Hard is not a Christmas movie, and those that are correct and think that Die Hard is a Christmas movie. This is most certainly a Christmas film.
Now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
Now, one of the great things about Die Hard is that it embodies everything we as an audience want in an action film. It's got a badass hero. It's got a great and memorable villain. It's got some awesome one-liners and quotes. And it's got incredible, over-the-top action. And my opinion as to one of the reasons this film really works and is so memorable and has had such an impact on movie audiences is because Bruce Willis is the main character. Before doing this film, Bruce was not an action star. He is known for doing comedy. And so to bring this comedic actor in for a lead role in a blockbuster action film, well, it was kind of head-scratching to some. But I think that's what makes this film so great, because I've said for many years, everyone I know loves a Bruce Willis film. The guy is so charismatic. He's all America. You just can't help but love him. And he brings that to the role of John McClane. You know, in the 80s, we're used to the muscle heads, Schwarzenegger, Stallone, all of those guys. Bruce wasn't one of those. He's the all-American male with a quick wit, but he can still kick ass, and it's easier for us as an audience to relate to this guy. We can really get behind him and think, okay, this could happen to anybody.
Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs.
And the character of John McClane, it's like this is a real-life guy. You could totally see this happening. A cop who's having some marriage problems with his wife, but he wants to work things out. He's got the kids he cares about and loves, and he just gets caught up in a really bad situation. But I think the way they cast this film and the way Bruce portrayed this main character really let the audience relate to him a lot more, and we can get behind him. And the same can be said for our villain, played by the great Alan Rickman. He was so charismatic. I mean, in everything he does, he's great. But in this role of Hans Gruber, he is such a charismatic villain, and he's totally believable as well because he's got the brains. He can outsmart the feds. He can outsmart the cops. You almost pull for Alan Rickman's character in a way. I mean, you want to see Bruce prevail, but I don't know anybody that doesn't like that character of Hans Gruber. He is such an epic villain.
Shoot the glass.
And the same can be said for the supporting cast. You've got this whole group of villains, and then you've got the hostages, you've got the FBI and the local law enforcement, and you just really enjoy watching everybody for their purpose in the film. Every single character has a purpose. There is no wasted characters, there is no wasted dialogue. And it's so great to see the relationship between John McClane and Sergeant Powell, played by Carl Otis Winslow, really Reginald Bell Johnson, but my generation, we are always going to remember him as Carl Winslow from Family Matters. But that's one of my favorite things about the movie, is seeing these two guys grow closer and closer, and they're just talking over a radio. But they form that special bond, and I think that's one of the great moments of this film, is watching these two guys, as well as the other supporting cast. I mean, they all do a wonderful job. Now, another thing that I think really makes this film stand out and work is the dialogue between all of the characters. It's very realistic. It's very well thought out. I just don't think there's a wasted moment in this movie. And then let's not forget the setting. It's such an epic set, the Nakatomi Tower there in Los Angeles, and leading up to this great showdown. It starts with the beautiful sunset California, just beautiful sunlit scenery, but you kind of know something eerie, something bad is approaching. And then the whole tower, it's such an awesome set piece. Now, this is not to say that Die Hard is a perfect film, because it's not. There are some things now, if you watch it, it's definitely outdated. I mean, the lack of cell phones in this movie, you could not get away with that nowadays. And there's a few other things, but that doesn't take away from the impact this film has had. It's just an all-out, awesome action film. And I also want to mention that this movie and Lethal Weapon, which was the first film I reviewed in the 2018 non-traditional Christmas movie marathon, you can't help but notice some similarities in those films. They're both action films. They both take place, around the Christmas season, and they're produced by Joel Silver. Also, Michael Kamen did the music. So there's a lot of moments and sounds and feels that make those movies very similar. But the one thing I find so interesting is that originally for Lethal Weapon, Bruce Willis was looked at to play the role of Martin Riggs. And then for Die Hard, Mel Gibson was originally looked at to play the role of John McClane. Now, I think both of these guys would have done a fantastic job had they swapped roles. But I think we can all agree the way it ended up is absolutely perfect. And Bruce Willis became a star with this film. I love Bruce Willis. Dude, Bruce Willis is awesome.
Thanks for the advice.
As far as rating this film, it honestly just depends on my mood. Sometimes I watch it and I like it more than others. So I will give Die Hard a rating of 8.5 to 9, just depending on the day. It's an absolute classic. It's quite possibly the best action film of the 1980s, when the action films were in their prime. It gives us so much greatness. The characters, the action, the lines, the sets, everything about it is badass action. Amazing movie and a great Christmas film. Guys, I want to thank you for watching. Hopefully you have enjoyed this. My subscribers, I salute you. If you have not subscribed, if you like what you see, please click that subscribe button. Would love to have your support. And please leave me some comments, guys. I always love hearing what your thoughts are. I want everyone to have a very Merry Christmas, and we will see you later.